Hello and welcome to a triple edition of Talking Bollocks with HMR. Possibly.
Yes, all of us this time, which is a nice pleasant change. So
It's a change, isn't it? Pleasant.
it's definitely something no matter what. This episode we will be talking about films from games. Yeah.
It's hot, that man.
Yeah, don't do what you did last time. Yeah, films from games. So without any further ado, we'll go straight into it.
Right, we have a big list here and written on quite of an envelope. And what are we going to have first?
Go with Max Payne.
Max Payne. Max Payne.
So Max Payne, the game, psychological, trippy
Crime shoot 'em up.
with drugs and demons, and the first game with bullet time.
Bullet time, yep.
Yeah.
It was at the start of the Xbox and PS2 generation, wasn't it? And it was pretty revolutionary. It was
PS1, I think. Was it not the first one?
no,
No, it was PS2.
It was pretty revolutionary when it came out. It was like say bullet time, so it was all this cool. It was almost like like John Woo kind of films where you were jumping around and
It was a sci-fi horror, psychological.
because there was like moments of drug use, intentional or not, and you had these hallucinogenic moments where everything got really weird and.
Understatement.
And it basically gave you an idea of how damaged the main character was.
Yeah.
That transcends though into the movie itself.
Yeah.
With Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg playing.
Did he
playing
have
the role.
Did he have post-traumatic stress in that?
Yeah, because his family got killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
He was
yeah.
so in the game and in the film he was a police
Detective.
or something. Yeah. Basically, the game, possibly the film, starts with his family, everything loving and happy.
Yeah.
Burglars break in and kill his family, but you find out later it was kind of organised because it wasn't a random event. And then he sort of sets off to find the killers of his family, and it all spirals out of control. And the film's very similar to that.
Yeah. The film is actually quite good.
Quite true to the game for once.
And the actors in it can act. You
Yeah.
got Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
For the life of me, the person that's the bad guy in it, not the main protagonist, which is the one that kills his wife, but the ex-military guy that's like constantly off his tits. He was in Prison Break. He was what's his name? Well, he was actually a good character in Prison Break. And he can act. That's the main thing, anyway.
So yeah, the film itself was an example of a good transition from a game, which was very good, into a film, which was in itself a very good film. It was well acted, it was well shot. It was possibly a bit lacking, and I just felt it was a little bit lacking in the actual film. Yeah. But they hadn't really, they tried to steer towards the game, so they really couldn't adapt on it very much without it going horrendously wrong. So all in all, a good transition to start.
It stayed true to the game,
Yeah.
which is the main thing.
And a good watch.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a good watch. So out with 10, lads, what do you reckon?
7 for me.
I'll probably give it a 6. I remember not being massively into it when it was on, and I felt a bit distracted when I was watching it. It's like I wasn't like stuck to the screen watching it.
So
I
should we
remember
go on
the
the
first
consensus of 6.5 then?
Yeah, I remember the first time you watched it, you were just like that shit.
So that's 6.5 for Max Payne. But it is worth a watch though. I would recommend it.
I enjoyed it. Yeah. So what we got next?
If you can read my writing.
Street Fighter.
Oh, I love it.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. What was it, 1991?
I am not a massive fan of this film.
No, it was crap.
It's just, you know what it is, right, lads? It's just, I think it's a good film.
It was an 80s.
For what it is.
It was an 80s.
Guile wasn't
film.
even supposed to be the main character.
It was an 80s film that became the 90s, and it was good, but it wasn't that good.
Like Guile's just a Vietnam vet with post-traumatic stress, and that was basically his story, and he wasn't massively involved in the main, in everything, and then they just turned it around, and it was just like
All about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but there's some cool bits in it, especially where the speedboat's going along. It's got the stealth thing on, and then the Gatling guns are firing.
Do you not think it was too much though?
What's that got to do? What's that got to do with hand-to-hand combat?
Exactly. That's my point exactly.
Well, no, but there is some parts where it is hand-to-hand combat. Where
Yeah, but it's a story about a game which was about fighting, And the film wasn't about fighting.
It was just an action film.
Yeah.
I know, but Jean-Claude Van Damme was in it.
Well, that sort of brings you on to the next one.
No,
Well,
it doesn't.
Right,
onto another
Let's skip
one.
down that.
Out of 10.
Mortal Kombat!
Yeah. I enjoyed this film much more than Street Fighter. If you've not
Oh, yeah.
played Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat or Street Fighter, where have you been?
And how old
Oh, yeah, I was just about to say, yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you in the 90s?
Yeah. Were you born in the 90s? But yeah, Mortal Kombat, which again, was there another one that they made?
Yeah,
they
there
made
was a second
two.
Yeah,
one.
there was
it was like,
a Apocalypse or something like that.
Yeah, but it
Annihilation.
The original
But it
one is
didn't-
probably the
yeah,
one that
but
we're
it didn't
talking
have
about.
a-
Yeah, we'll talk about the first one.
original characters.
It was a film from a game which was about fighting again, and the film was about
Yeah, it was,
fighting.
yeah, but it was like the big whole thing about like these. It was the outworld. They were basically trying to merge the worlds and like evil trying to come through this portal. But it all became decided on a tournament
Yeah.
somehow. But yeah,
But that fit with the game really well.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was like it worked.
Yeah, and
because
like
that was the game.
all the characters like had was sort of true to them. I mean, they did have a few differences. Like Scorpion and Sub-Zero brought like
Yeah.
fucking. But it had Fear Factory in.
Drop a few names of actors into that one just to see if we can get some credibility into this one. Maybe.
Kylie Minogue.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Lambert.
Christopher Lambert, yeah.
He played Raiden,
Raiden.
the God of Thunder.
Oh, Shao Kahn. Who was he? Oh, God, he's been in loads.
Shit. Nah.
Doesn't matter.
We might come back to that.
I'm
We'll
going to be
come
on IMDb.
We'll be like in the middle of another film and go such and such.
Your soul is mine.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? What do you reckon for Street Fighter?
Street Fighter, I'd say 5. It's in the middle. To be fair, it is.
I
It's in
would
the
I
middle.
would probably give you a 4. So yeah, I know you said 3, you said 5.
So that we'll
yeah.
say
4,
4.
four.
Yeah, 4.
And then Mortal Kombat.
7.
Yeah, I'd go with that. So there, one was good, one was not so good in my opinion. Doom. I don't
Doom.
like Doom. I don't
Yeah.
like Doom as a.
Can we just go
film.
straight to the rating of Doom?
Yeah.
I watched it a few times and
You
it's
quite
like,
liked it, didn't
I
you?
liked it, but it had basically had nothing to do with the game.
Yeah.
That's why I don't.
It shared the name. It
Yeah.
wasn't even set
In this,
And
in the right
one of the
place.
worst parts of the film where it goes into first person and it's like he's pretending it's in the game and you're just like watching it going,
what you
is
doing?
there any
Yeah.
need for
What
this?
you doing?
That's
I mean,
terrible.
It's another one of those things, and I think this is a sort of trend that I've said all the way through of making this list and doing this film. It wasn't. It's not the film. The film itself is a
Not
good
the game.
film. It doesn't follow a film of a game.
Yeah.
It's the same name. It's got basic premise, which is very slightly the same as a game, but
It's
it's.
just shooting monsters.
But Doom is like look at Doom as a franchise. If you mention Doom as a game, everyone goes, "Oh yeah!" I mean, graphics weren't brilliant, you know, but the gameplay was revolutionary. It was new.
And you had titties.
Yeah, well, yeah. And then you put a film with the same name, people are going to go and see it because
Yeah.
it's got the
Yeah.
same name, but the
But
film
it
didn't
was-
live up to it.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you have Doom sit on the moons of Mars,
Mhm.
doorway to hell's being opened,
Mhm.
demons come through, start killing everything. And then you have Doom the film, genetic experiments on
On archaeological
Mars,
finds.
on Mars itself.
Yeah.
And it's just basically genetic mutations
Yeah.
of this extra chromosome thing. It's basically
They find a mutant, like they find skeletons. It's an
Yeah, and-
archaeological dig, but then they figure
and
out it's
it's
actually
like-
that the skeleton was protecting the other one from the
and it's like an extra chromosome
yeah.
possibly created. Like it either turns you superhuman or more than likely turns you into a monster.
Yeah.
And
What's the point?
That's it.
Yeah.
But it had Carl Urban in it,
Yeah.
Who is a good actor, and we've mentioned a few.
And who else
others.
does it have in it?
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah, we're
Eyebrow.
not talking about
He
that.
wasn't quite.
Um,
he wasn't quite the size of the Rock now, not the boulder
Yeah.
that he is now.
It was one of the first ones he did, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And it also has that woman who I can never remember who she is.
That doesn't matter. It wasn't very good in it anyway. So yeah, we're running on to the next film. From there is another film of a game. Obviously, I enjoyed the game. and
Enjoyed the film.
Enjoyed the film. Didn't like the way they went together because it is a film of the game, very very close, but it just didn't. I felt very left out, and it is Hitman.
Yes. Agent 47.
Iconic, in my opinion. Agent
Yeah.
47 was very iconic.
Black
most of
suit,
them.
white shirt, red tie.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, actually,
Badass.
there's going to be another film coming out soon. I'm not sure how soon, but it's actually going to be called Agent 47.
Yeah.
There's a few people you recognise in it. There's Mance Rayder,
yeah.
the new Spock,
Mm-hmm.
and that guy out of Homeland.
So
Anyway, back to the
the
film.
game, in my opinion, was it was a massive sort of open world linear game in a sense, because it was linear in the sense that you had to start from a specific position and you had to kill a specific person.
It was missions.
Yeah.
It was like
And it was
stop,
missions.
stop, yeah.
But you had so many ways to do it. I mean, like one of the missions in one of the games, basically you started on top of a hill with whatever weapons you started with, and you always started with a sniper rifle because you knew if you walked to a specific point of the hill, there was a guy on a balcony and you could cap him, and that was the end of the sort of the mission, really. But nobody ever did that because it sort of defeated the object of it, and you didn't want to.
I mean, you could run down, chloroform, or garrote a guard. You could steal his gear if you want. You can go up. You can go through the kitchen. You can, like that level where you can start off. You can steal a waiter's gear. You can go into the kitchen. You can poison something. If you want to, you can just boot down the front door with like an MP5 and just start gunning.
No, it wasn't MP5s. Ballers.
Oh,
Every time. Every time. But the game,
Well, there was lots and lots
Oh,
of
yeah,
things to choose
cool.
from.
so the film,
It's very narrow. It kind of follows a story,
Yeah,
but
it
it doesn't
does.
really veer off much.
do you know? But
in
how
the
else
story.
could they have done it?
Well, I know it's very limited what you can do in a film to what you can do in a game.
I mean, they had that.
The
They
choices
had the
and
concept of it because they had a film where they had a specific thing that they needed to do, and it felt a bit ramshackle to start with. Like, why is he doing that? What's he doing? And it's just fat. It's just going along. And then he ends up in a church, and he needed a key. And then you suddenly realise that he sort of planned it all the way through, and then he gets arrested, and then he gets away because he's made a deal with somebody. Now that annoyed me.
Yeah, he had like contacts with.
Agent 47 never had contacts
Was
with
it like the
anybody.
contacts in the CIA or something?
Yeah.
no, it wasn't
It was
CIA.
the British and
Interpol.
the CIA.
No,
Interpol, that's what
because
it
I
was.
thought it was Interpol.
He makes a deal with.
No, Interpol wanted them.
Interpol were chasing them.
Oh, yeah.
And the CIA come up and they say, right, you've got to stop because this is, we want you for this. And they're like, what the fuck? Because they're British as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
We're Interpol, and they're from London. And then they turn around and he's gone, and it's just like, right, I like that, yeah, I love what you did there, but Agent 47 wouldn't have done that.
Mm.
He wouldn't have done that. And there's a little thing in the film which I like the way that they did it, but I really wish they hadn't. Where he's in Moscow and he bulls in through a window, and there's two kids in a hotel room, and they're playing the game.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I know what you've done there, and I understand, but it doesn't
make
work.
sense. Like, why would a hitman see, like, in this universe, why would this guy go past a video game of himself?
Yeah.
There's a bit, I mean, I don't know if anybody really knows back history of the people who do HMR, but I was trained as a forensic biologist, which is basically CSI, and there's a bit in the film where they find a room with all his kit in, and the CSIs fuck it up because it resets the things. In my opinion, they're putting stuff in there of popular culture, like the CSI, because CSI was out and about at that time.
Yeah.
They had a bit where he speaks a very, very broken Russian in the film, and it's like, what are you doing, mate?
Yeah.
Learn your lines. Do you know what I mean? It's even to somebody who doesn't speak Russian, it sounds ridiculous, and I didn't like that scene very much. And he jumps in the Volga twice, I think, does he?
Yeah, possibly doesn't freeze to death.
And then he walks into some random place without any money, and he walks out with a suit, and it's just like, the film itself isn't bad, but I don't know, it let me down.
It brings on a rant.
But the film, the game is very good. I love the games as much as I don't think I did quarter of the things that he possibly could have done, but I enjoyed it immensely. And the film itself as an original on its own entity was it was like the Bourne stuff. It was like James Bond on a budget sort of idea. It was really good, but it just felt lacking in my opinion. So, but I'd still probably rate it quite highly.
Yeah.
But
So
just
I'd say around about 7.
yeah.
So what does that bring us on to then?
Rules.
Yes. Going back to PlayStation. What?
Before we move on to Silent Hill, there is one other point. Sorry. Before we move on to Silent Hill, there is one other point that Tiger brought up before, about Hitman that was annoyance for you? Like, because in the games,
Well, it couldn't have been that annoying if I've forgotten
the
it.
games were all clones.
Oh yes. One part of the story shows the agency that he works for coming after him. I'm not sure why that is. I can't remember. And does that ever happen in the game?
No.
No. But anyway, the agency has a lot of these hitmen who go around do contracts. And it basically has them as orphans who are picked up and trained from childhood. And in the game, they're all clones, which makes it a bit like it makes it a bit more like
Different.
I don't know, like different, and it's like the kind of thing that like a weird secretive organization like that would do.
And it was
if they
religious, wasn't it?
yeah, and because if they're trying to track down like one person, they'll be like, all right, we found him, and then and you've got other people doing the same job with the same DNA.
To me, that meant that like the hitman himself was a bit more than a normal person. Do you know what I mean? Because you always knew that he could do that a little bit more because they've messed about with his genes and cloned him. And because he's an orphan, he's just a person.
Yeah, and because of that in the film, in the games, he was Agent 47. He was just a clone, but he was special amongst all the others.
We'll come back to stuff that's special in a moment, and that sort of idea. Let's go back onto the one that we started on.
Right, PlayStation horror games again, just in the
same time as Resident Evil.
Same time as Resident Evil, took a different path.
Horrific horror.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, Silent Hill.
Another game I couldn't play.
I loved Silent Hill.
Creepy, third-person, atmospheric, weird.
I know
all the way through the series.
We've probably talked about this before, but the original first game, when they made the game, they had an issue with budget and they had an issue with
draw distance,
and that's why there was so much fog, because they had an issue with it, and it was mint.
Yeah, it turned out to be
good
for the game. Yeah,
iconic.
Because people were like, because you had a radio that started crackling.
Yeah,
whenever there was a monster nearby, so you'd know something was nearby, but you couldn't see it. The story follows Harry Mason, who has crashed his car near the town of Silent Hill
with his kid,
and his daughter goes missing, and he goes in to find her. Lots of shit happens. The first film follows this premise with a few changes, like the main character, minor things like that. The main character is now his wife. The surname isn't Mason. Also in the game, his wife
name's different.
Yeah, they've changed the names. The wife isn't even alive in the game.
No.
The original draft of the film had no men in it. It does stand up on its own as quite a good.
It does, yeah.
It has a lot of the elements and brings them together. It has that. Sometimes it shows that open-ended feel to it, in the way that a character dies in it, and you think, well, that's a bit shit. I didn't want that to happen, but it is a possibility in the game.
Do you know what it is? I mean, the game itself. We were talking about this before. The game itself becomes it's a very linear game in the sense that you need to go to specific places and do specific things, and there's no real deviation from that. But the way that it gets round the limitations of graphics and things like that is with the story. And on the surface, you could run through the game very quickly and get the basics of the story and finish the game and still be quite satisfied with the game. But if you looked into it deeper with like Alyssa and a mother, and obviously
the
cult, and the fact that, like, it was all about the fact that they wronged this one lass by burning her, I think, didn't they?
Yeah.
And she sort of became like, they burnt her for to summon. They summoned a demon by
the summoned. But this is my major gripe with the film, is that they changed this. They changed the main.
Well, that's where I was going with that.
Yeah, they changed the story, and then in the sequel they changed it again. In the original game, the town's inhabitants are, well, sort of Satanists. They worship Samael. They do some ritual to bring him into a child, but only half works. So you've got this girl who is half demon, half girl, and she just wants to be a normal girl. She doesn't want to do what they want her to do, so they burn her to control her, and the demon won't let her die. So they've got her under control. Yeah. And that's how she's got her powers, because she's half demon, but she's also a girl who's been burnt, and she wants her revenge, and she creates this world.
It's all her doing, isn't it?
She creates this world to torture these people. And then the film says, oh, they were witch hunters, and they thought that she was a witch, so they burnt her.
Yeah.
And then this like demon side just said, oh, then I came along, and I thought that was a real cop out.
I agree. The original story was awesome, and it touched on things that obviously did happen in real. I mean, nobody obviously summoned demons, but about the witch burnings in America, and it touched on that. And it showed the evil side of the way that people could be.
And then, just going to the second one for a minute, the second one has a lot of exposition that tells you what's happened in between them, because there's a character who was missing and is all suddenly back. But then it says, okay, there's these people who worship this demon and brought it into life through this girl. It's like, wait a minute, you've established a different story from the game in the first one, and you're now saying that the story is the same as the game. So you fucked off the story from the first film to make it more like the game. So they changed it, and then they changed it again, which was just shit.
And another good thing about this film, it does have a basically cameo appearance of a great legendary actor.
It's not really cameo, is it?
It's not cameo.
He's a main character.
But he's not in the film. In the first one.
If it was true to the game, he would be the main character.
Yeah, he would. And who is he?
Sean Bean.
And what does he not do in this film?
He doesn't die.
Yeah, bit of a spoiler. He doesn't die. A bit more of a spoiler. He doesn't die in the second one either.
Do you know what? Sorry, go on.
Sorry. The whole thing of Silent Hill was interesting as well, in that it was based on the
city in America.
Yeah, there's the ghost towns. There's a few ghost towns. I can't. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. It's either Centralia, a town in America which has is mine fires. Started in the 60s because they burned some refuse, and it's been burning
underground.
Yeah, and the population of the town now is about 10, 11 people. Yeah, it's a ghost town. And the fires are going to be burning for hundreds of years, and it's
and it looks like Silent Hill.
Yeah, that's what Silent Hill's based on. It's just so weird.
You see all the steam coming up off the floor.
Yeah, there's these places that have like been abandoned, and there's just fire. Like,
not really going into that now, but it is quite cool.
Yes, we can edit some of this out.
So then, what do you reckon for a rating for Silent Hill? Because it is a decent show. I enjoyed it. The film.
Well, the
7.
Yeah, I agree with 7, but I'd give the second one about 4.
Can I just make one more point about Silent Hill? In the games, there was a certain amount of sort of dimension shift almost, because you had like a real town
the dark
and then you had the dark world with chicken wire everywhere and alarms going off and shit like that. But it was held in the town, so anything that happened was in the town. In the film, it seems to change the whole world, because spoiler alert coming along, but at the end of the film, there's wife and child and husband who are in parallel universes.
Yeah,
what the fuck was that about?
They get home, and
honey, I'm home.
Yeah, the dad's given up looking for them.
Yeah.
He goes home, they come home, and they can't find each other.
Yeah, but they're both still at the same place. It's just.
And then the second one takes us further in that it's like, oh yeah, there's these two worlds existing. And the dark world starts to affect wherever the main characters are. They're not even in Silent Hill, and it's just like, what's going on?
But that was the point of the game. That it was Silent Hill, and it was their punishment. But no, whatever. Moving on. I think this is probably going to have to be the last, because we've rambled for so long. Do you think?
Yeah, right.
So, a franchise that produced films of strange variations from 3 minutes to 10 minutes.
I mean, some of them were just trailers, but
they're films in their own right.
Yeah, they're very well made.
Oh, they're brilliant.
To 20-minute episodes,
which was then molded into a movie.
Yeah, to cancelled, then on and off again films that may or may not come out in the future.
And I think you're probably the guiding force on all of these? Since you've probably watched them the most.
Halo.
Years.
Well, who
Like,
doesn't know about Halo?
More specifically, what we've got written down is the movie, which is
Forward Unto Dawn.
yeah, because that's the episodes that have been meshed together
Yeah.
into like a live action
Yeah.
movie, and it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, love or hate Halo, it's been going for
Long time.
13 years now.
Original
Um,
Xbox. Flagship game on the original Xbox.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll hold my hand up now and say I don't like playing Halo games,
yeah.
but I love all the history behind it.
Yeah,
and things like that.
it tells a good
Happily,
story.
yeah, I
Yeah.
can happily read that, and that's why I love the movie
It's
so much.
almost onto a Star Wars sort of
Yeah,
level.
Yeah.
it's got such a history and mythos behind it.
Yeah,
It's
and
fantastic.
it's become more than games. Like you say, oh yeah, there's a game and they made a movie about it. It's more just a fully multimedia franchise now. You've got the games, you've got books, you've got the trailers, which are sort of mini movies. You've got the movies they've produced to go in between and like on a run up to a game. Like the Landfall films, the ODST trailers, and then you got Forward Unto Dawn,
Yeah.
episodic series, which you say merge into a single film, and the really high quality production of it.
They probably have a higher quality than some of the blockbuster films that we've
Yeah.
talked about tonight.
Along with them, like I say, the On and Off Again.
Peter Jackson film. isn't
Yeah, Peter. When was it? 2007 or something. Oh, there's
Yeah.
going to be a Halo film coming out. It's going to be brilliant. Peter Jackson's going to be doing it. It's going to be, I don't know, Peter Jackson. Knowing him, it's probably going to be about 5 hours long. Then it got cancelled, and then
And it was back.
Then it's not cancelled. Then we
Then
don't
it was.
know. Are they going to do it? Are
And
they
they,
not?
kept, and they kept on releasing snippets of movie
Yeah.
footage, and you're like, oh, it's coming on. And it's not.
But then, like you think with this type of thing, it's so big and there's so much going on in the games and everything else. Do they really need to do a film? Because it might even just detract from.
No disrespect to Peter Jackson because he's produced some fantastic films, and I will not deny that. And
He does bloat his films sometimes.
I think he'll fuck it up.
I mean, look at King Kong.
I really do.
I mean, you
really
can
think he'll
strip
fuck it up.
about an hour and a half out of King Kong and not lose anything.
Yeah. But
I
I mean, right,
find-
sticking to Forward Unto Dawn, though, we'll
The Hobbit films.
Yeah, I know.
It's a normal sized book.
And then now it's 3 films.
Now it's 3 films.
Well,
Three hour long films.
I'll
however long.
hold my hands up to say that I never read The Hobbit. I read Lord of the Rings, and I was sort of disappointed in the bits that they missed out of Lord of the Rings and the way that it was, and it didn't flow, and so on. I never read The Hobbit books. You've read The Hobbit books. I went and watched book. Sorry,
One little book.
and I watched the first film, and I came in and I said, "Tell you, what the fuck was that about? How far through the book are we?" And he was like, "Yeah, about 20 pages or something." And I was like, "What? Are you kidding us?" And it's like Peter Jackson, make some money.
Yeah, I mean, it was originally going to be 2 films, and even then I thought, why?
Yeah.
And then it's 3 films.
Anyway, Forward Unto Dawn.
What are we talking about?
Forward Unto Dawn. Not The Hobbit.
Not
Forward
The
Unto
Hobbit.
Dawn.
Yeah, it's
Do
sure
you know
about
what
Peter
it is?
Jackson.
I can't rate this.
You can't?
I can't rate it because it's there's nothing for it to draw on. There's nothing like it out there. There is nothing.
I know, but you just rate it as a movie, as itself.
But
It's well acted. It's got
Yeah, it is.
brilliant young actors in it,
Yeah.
which is great.
if you
The
add it,
effects are brilliant.
well, that's it. I mean, it's got everything.
Uh-huh.
There's no downside to it. It's a good film. It's well written. It's very well acted. It's fantastic special effects. The audio was
Little
brilliant.
bits of, character development in it.
Yeah.
But by doing that, it has to be like a 9. But I can't make myself
Well, like,
give it a 9
you
because
you don't feel like it's a film.
yeah. But it is a film in its own
See,
right.
the thing is, if you watch it as the film, you can see it was supposed to be made like that and not as episodes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree
You know
entirely.
what I mean?
It just
There's
flows perfectly.
Yeah, there's just bits of like, they cut it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
like-
it was for episodes for a pre-game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
all it was.
it's a prequel. It's basically a prequel to all of it, but
Yeah.
it introduces characters in Halo 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it
I
did-
sat and
it-
watched all of the separate episodes here, didn't I?
Yeah, I remember we had an Indian and watched them on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, I mean, you look at like the movie itself. It's the cadets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who eventually becomes Commander Lasky.
Yes.
Who's
But
captain of a ship?
It's
and-
it's
Captain,
when he's hacking into the news feeds,
Mhm.
and they're
Yeah.
like, "My God, is that one of ours?" You know, and
Yeah.
it's like showing you like the
I think the
Spartans. you know, the super soldiers, and then then it goes on to where they get attacked, and there's like one bit that stands out so much in that film is where she's like, I'm the Admiral's daughter, you know, I'm going up, and she's going up. Then it gets hit, and she goes, yeah, onto the roof. You're like, shit.
Oh. Do you know what it really, like, when did it come out? What part, when did it come out? It came out before the fourth game, didn't it?
Yeah, I assume it would have been,
Yeah.
So, to me, it was, a lot of people probably won't have seen this, but it was a District 9 on steroids, the way that I saw it, because of the way that it was made. Do you know what I mean?
You just say that. I might be wrong on this, but when the Halo film was supposed to come out with Peter Jackson, he was going to be executive producer. The director might have been Neil Blomkamp.
Yeah, I think it was. That's what I'm saying. It was the same sort of idea, but
Because he was completely unknown at the time.
in the first game, you had a thing where you had, like, it's only a very, very minor thing that a lot of people might not have picked up on, in the sense that you had a Master Chief who was a Spartan, who was a super soldier, and, you know, he was bigger and stronger and better than everybody else. And when you went into certain places in the game, you had dialogue from the not NPCs. Oh my god, it's a Spartan. In this film, I got that feeling. You know, these guys are not Spartans. They're bog standard soldiers who went on to do other things. And when they hear about Master Chief and talk about Spartans, they talk about them in awe, and it's perfect. I can't really emphasize any more about it.
It's like half the time, like when they see them, they're just like, is that human?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And they have elites as well, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's the same
in the
thing.
movie, I think the first time you see one, it's like it's clothed.
Yeah, it's
and
massive.
there's a soldier like stood there,
like
and you just see
kitchen or
like,
something,
no, he's out. It's outside because you're looking through the window, and all you see is like this guy. He's firing away, and he just gets hooked, and he's in the air.
Yeah.
And you can just see like the outshade of it. And he gets dropped, and like they like run.
But it was like it wasn't a horror film. It was a sci-fi film. But for that specific bit, even in my 20s, I felt the same sort of feeling as I did when I went to see Jurassic Park for the very first time. When you first see the dinosaurs come in, you're like, whoa, fuck.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It made me feel like that because it was so well done and it was so well produced. It made me like totally immersed in it, almost on an Avatar sort of level. That sort of immersion in the film. I'm not saying that Avatar was a fantastic film. I mean, it was good, but the Halo stuff really, really immersed me because I knew the story already and I didn't expect to be really sucked into the film, but I really was.
I mean, you're looking as well. It's only like what 90 minutes altogether. So it's short, and you can watch it all, and at the end of it, you're like, that was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
You know what I mean? It's not too long, and it's just about the right amount of time. But then you're like left in going, oh, there's another one. Yeah, and that's what's good.
But does it not show you the possibilities of what can be done?
Oh yeah, I mean, they've done a few bits with like the animated shorts. It's all different
different perspectives,
different styles and things like that. But
I enjoyed that actually. I had that DVD. I can't remember what it was.
Halo Legends.
Yeah, it was really good. I forgot all about that.
But yeah, like there were a few bits in that, like there was a CGI one that looked really good.
There was a one with an elite.
Yeah, that was like watercolor.
Yeah, really good. But I mean, like just to sum up from my bit anyway, if you can make quality of that higher quality of filming and acting and directing and special effects and sound and story for something,
then what?
Sorry,
I was just going to say it. Then, what's stopping them from doing a full blown film?
Well, yes, there is that. But my point was, if they can do all of that with something which is relatively low budget, I mean, it wasn't a massive budget that they had. Why do people settle for films of massive budget that are shit?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but
especially
of this genre that
when you've got something where it's an established name, say like Resident Evil, you've got a lot of fans. That means you've got a lot of fans. Potentially, you're gonna piss off.
But to me, like when they do shit like that,
there's a lot more at stake than if it was just a film.
Yeah, that's right.
But there's a massive franchise behind it with a big fan base.
I think it's laziness, and I know people go, yeah, whatever. But it's laziness because they have a name that's established and they know people will go and
Yes,
see the films
yeah.
because of the
Yeah,
name. Doom is a prime example.
I was just thinking that, like what I just said. As soon as I finished thinking, like, they've got a lot to live up to because there's this massive name. On the other side of it, they've got this massive name, so they could just
They know they'll make money.
We'll just make money off the name.
They know they will, and it shouldn't be allowed. I don't like it. I think if people produce a film that's bad, people should stand up and say that your film is shit.
And that brings us to the end of that list.
Yeah.
We do have a little bit at the end there. It's like, because we had a bit of research, quick scour, to see what was getting made.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be coming out in a bit.
Probably either jump into 2 films, or maybe whatever, because it's going to be quite long, this, I would think. But we'll keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going on with
You might as well start with that one.
yeah, this. Oh well, we already have, really, haven't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, the upcoming Halo film. I'm not actually sure. Like I say, it's on and off again.
It just keeps getting touted about. Then
I haven't recently looked to make sure that it is coming out and that it is in production and all that.
To me, it's got to be enormous.
Yes.
It's got to be a huge Avatar budget style film to live up to anything, because the games are so big. It has to be enormous.
That's what I was thinking before. I mean, I'll just rattle off the list that we've got here. We've got games that have possible or apparently upcoming films: Mass Effect, Gears of War, Assassin's Creed, Metal Gear, Bioshock.
Mm-hmm.
The way that games are now, they have massive budgets. They're really immersive. They tell a really good story. The graphics are amazing. The films have got so much at stake now. The film, like you say, the film has to be absolutely massive, especially with something like Mass Effect, which is basically on par with Halo. It's an intergalactic story. It's like Halo and Babylon 5, and you've got to really, it's got to be a AAA film. It's the same thing with Gears of War.
Yeah, I mean, that's got a rich history,
it's
backstory to it. It's
big
brilliant.
sci-fi action with all the lore and all the equipment and the creatures in it.
But the thing is,
you do anything less than the games,
you've got to find big actors.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be like, this is like basically scouring the WWE. Because these have to be big, bulky people.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
But I mean, have a games, films from games aside, have a think of any massive budget, massive style film that's ever produced a proper 10 out of 10. Do you know what I mean? Recently.
No, recently.
Well, not recently then, just say other ones. Do you know what I mean? Huge budget.
There's no 10 out of 10.
Eh?
There isn't no 10 out of 10, that's from a game.
No, absolutely not. But I'm saying any film. Do you know what I mean? A proper, big, excellent, you come out the cinema and you go, wow, amazing film, recently. Well, maybe not recently, but any sort of ones.
But I'll give Lone Survivor a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed that, and it was just brilliant.
So I've got a few, I mean, people may disagree with me. You've got Saving Private Ryan, I'll give that a 10. I would.
Serenity.
Yeah, that was huge. I know you'll probably disagree with this as well, but I loved Gladiator. I thought the whole premise of it was fantastic. I know the story wouldn't have worked, I appreciate that.
And technically it's based on historic fact.
Most of it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Because there was an emperor that used to go and fight as a gladiator.
But what I'm saying is, very, very few and far between do you ever get a proper, full-on, AAA 10 out of 10 that everybody goes, yes, it's awesome.
Yeah, and based on these list of upcoming films, these have got to be nothing less than a 10 out of 10 to live up to.
But look at
the franchise.
Look at that. I mean, the hype, the build, the production, the the aftermarket, the filming and the production of such as like Avatar. That was a revolutionary film because it was 3D and it was big and it was huge and it was
made me cry.
Well, okay.
Really? Yeah, when you charge on the back of them blue horse things.
You were just thinking of Waterloo.
Anyway,
I cry at charges.
Whatever. My point is, at the time when it was released, it was a AAA and it was a 10 out of 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't disagree with me with this just at the moment. A year down the line, when other stuff of the same technology had produced films, it became not a 10 out of 10 anymore. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean by that? So even the biggest film in the world at that point lost its appeal after a while. Whereas real proper 10 out of 10s never lose their appeal.
No, but it's a defining moment in a genre, isn't it? When
Yeah,
you go,
exactly.
Bang! Can't beat
And
this.
what's the chances of getting Mass Effect, Gears of War, Assassin's Creed, Metal Gear, Bioshock and Halo to all be in that sort of genre where they need to be?
Well, that's the only problem.
You know what I mean?
I mean, a lot of these. I mean, I reckon the franchises are so big.
Yeah.
They don't need a film.
No,
to be
they
honest.
don't.
Like I say, like especially with something like Mass Effect, it tells such a good story and it's such a good quality. It doesn't need a film.
No, but it's a money-making
What,
exercise.
what could a film add to what's already been done? I mean, they're probably going to do more games, which will be fine.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need a film.
I
for
think
it.
out that quick list, the better one to be made into a film would probably be Gears of War.
I think Bioshock, personally. I think that could be an epic film.
I think because Gears of War could just be a pure blood action film.
Yeah,
that would be
don't.
really good.
It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be as clever.
No, it just
Yeah.
has to be.
Do you know what?
These are monsters. We're fighting them.
Do you know what?
That's
Do
it.
you know what it could be?
Edge of Tomorrow.
No, I don't mean that.
In fact, if you look at like some of the armour they wear and all that, it's
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, what I'm thinking is it could be a 80s, 90s Sylvester Stallone style
Yeah.
film built in the 2000s.
Well, you know, you can just get the
2010s.
cast of Expendables and put chainsaws on the guns.
I'd love to
Yeah.
see that in film motion. Though, just
Have you seen the poster for Expendables 3 where it's just got all the cast?
Yeah,
It's basically every actor from every action film ever.
Do you know what my big fear of Gears of War will be? And it's a trend that's running in the last 10 years.
what's that?
They'll produce this film, they'll announce it, they'll write it, and they'll say it's going to be epic, it's going to be fantastic, and they'll give it a 12-year certificate. That's
Yes.
my problem.
Oh
Yeah.
god, you wouldn't be able to do that
You
with Gears
you
of War
can't.
because Gears of War, the game,
they will.
is in 18.
Yeah, but they've done it with other films that
Yeah.
were 18s, and that
I agree
When
with
that
that.
comes out, if it's not a 12-year or something like that,
15.
I will put my hands up and I'll say yes, I was wrong, but I don't think I will be.
I mean, realistically, looking at these, the easiest to make, I think, would be Metal Gear.
That is a film in itself. The game is a film.
Pretty much is a film. But the Metal Gear series covers such a wide time scale.
I'd love to see one made in the 60s.
You could make one in the 60s,
I would
and so you
love
wouldn't
to
have to
see that.
spend so much time on CGI making futuristic technology
it'd just
and
be
robots
It
and
would be
everything.
an
Costume.
old,
Yeah.
like a new build old James Bond.
Yeah,
It would be awesome Cold
you'd
War
be able to
spies.
do an action Cold War film using, M60s and RPGs and tanks
And it
rather
would-
than
you know,
bipedal
yeah.
robots and cyborg ninjas.
But
It would, it would be doable.
Yeah.
they wouldn't do it though. They won't
Well,
do
no,
it.
because
They won't do it.
what young these days, when I say a young person, I mean in like
Hey, you young'uns these days.
like 13-year-old
Mm-hmm.
wants to know about what they look like in the 60s. Really.
Exactly. That's my
They don't
point.
want to see that.
But that's the problem though. The Metal Gear series should be an 18. Okay?
Yeah.
Stick with me on this. It should be an 18. So anybody over the age of 18 would be able to view it, which would mean that they were born.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Which would give them a more mature audience, which would be able to give them a good storyline that they can follow. Which, because the games weren't massively complicated, but the stories were quite complex. They weren't complicated to follow, but you had to really think about them to be able to follow the full characters, especially of Snake Eater, because there was a lot of back and forward of different people who would, betrayed other people, and you had like Revolver Ocelot, who was actually a spy for the Americans, who was actually a spy for the Russians,
Yeah, he's
who was
playing-
on his own, and it was just
playing
like,
everyone off against the other.
and it was really well written. But they won't. But then if I'm a director in Hollywood and I say, right, I want to make a film of a game which is called Metal Gear and I want to make money off it, it has to be cyborgs because that's what people will want to
Yeah.
see. So I disagree with that entirely.
Then you make it a 15 or a 12 here.
Yeah, to
And
get more.
And they
Get
won't
more
get
ticket
budget.
sales.
Yeah, it's shit. I'm sorry, but it is. It
I mean,
should be a B
that's,
movie.
that's what they did with New RoboCop when it ran over budget.
Yeah.
The studio said, cut out the violence, take the rating
We
down.
need more money.
The director hated it.
A big
Not
thing
much you
that
can do.
I know
Yeah.
you and both of you really are big into is B movies, low budget, shit like that, who stick to a script and don't rely on special effects.
Yeah.
And I think Snake Eater or whatever the film would be of the Metal Gear in the 60s would benefit from that.
Yeah.
so
But,
much.
I mean, I've said a lot of times, you don't need big effects to
No,
make a good
you
film.
don't at all.
You know what I mean? As long as you've got people that'll give the emotion when they act, and you can have, like, say, some part of action or well choreographed stunts even.
Yeah.
You don't need these huge effects and green screen everything. It's like,
Yeah.
why? You just don't need to do it.
I mean, alright, yeah, Snake Eater, it's even got like a massive, possibly overly long, but it's got a good, like, it's proper like Indiana Jones style chase scene on a bike and sidecar
That's awesome, that.
with a rocket launcher.
Can you remember trying to get all them frogs on that? And there's like, what is it, like
One frog on a rock that's like.
It's like 99 frogs in the game or something
Yeah,
you've got to
like,
shoot.
you go through a checkpoint, the game fades out and it fades back in, and you like 3 seconds later you go flying past this rock and there's a little green like plastic frog that you have to shoot, and even if you do shoot it, you're flown off down the thing and you can't hear the noise it makes. So you're like, did we get that? I don't know. Reload and do it a few times. I just want to go off topic again. Halo. Yes, there is an apparent Halo coming up. I do remember reading this now. I've just refreshed myself.
Yeah, so you're having a bit
Steven Spielberg.
Can I get
yeah, I remember that.
Possibly turning it into a series. Like a TV series. So
yeah, I
it's,
do
it's
remember
yeah,
that.
like it's going to be something like an HBO series, maybe like Band of Brothers or something.
But that could potentially be very good. I mean, look
Yeah.
at the HBO and look at the TV series that they've produced
That-
recently.
that-
that have
that's
really
like
been big
yeah,
budget.
like it's
Band of Brothers.
taken over films. Like
It is, I agree
like
entirely.
you've got things that you got like Band of Brothers, The
Pacific,
Walking Dead,
Homeland,
Homeland,
Game of Thrones.
Breaking Bad.
But the difference between those is every Band of Brothers was a film.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's not the point that I'm trying to make though. It was never designed to go into cinema as a
Yeah.
one-off film.
But like
No.
the like they're as big as films and they're becoming more popular to do now.
Yeah.
You can get a lot more in. I mean, you could get like 10 hours
yeah.
to do.
Well, look at 24.
Sorry.
24
yeah.
hours.
I mean, well, like Band of Brothers, that's what they call a mini series because
Yeah.
it's only 10 hours long.
Exactly, yeah.
So you've
But
got.
it was so high budget, it was so well done, and so, I mean, apart from some slight errors that you quite bring up every time we watch different episodes.
Yeah, there is a big historical error with one character.
But,
The fact that they say that he died and he didn't.
yeah, and yeah, he went on to a lot of other things, but they were epic in themselves, and you could rate every single one as a separate film if you wanted to.
Yeah, and I really do need to buy that on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I was looking at it today, just going, that's not too bad. I think it's about 12 quid or something you can get.
No, that's actually not too bad at all.
But imagine, I mean, as a mini-series in comparison to a film, for a Saving Private Ryan as the comparison, film that came out in the cinema was produced and they did make a AAA movie and it was very, very good, in my opinion. I know you don't like it as much as that, but that's not the point that I'm making. They made a lot of money out of it, they made it, they built it, they put a lot of special effects into it, it came out in the cinema, everybody loved it, it finished in the cinema, DVDs came out, they bought it, that was the end. Band of Brothers just became so much more.
Yeah.
And it's basically the same.
I can. Well, I do. I watch Band of Brothers at least once a year, but more than that.
But
Like-
do you not remember a while ago when it first came out? Obviously, your special edition metal box that was a special edition because it was not out for very long, and if
Yeah.
you saw one, you were like, "Fuck, I've got to buy it because it'll go." Then they went, and then they said, "Well, we're going to produce another set of special effect boxes," and they sold out. Boosh! Immediately, they went.
You know these special edition tin boxes? I was actually looking at Band of Brothers today on Blu-ray, and like I say, it was about 13 quid. That was the Blu-ray tin.
Yeah.
The normal one was about 10 quid more.
Because it's still collectible.
And the special edition also had like the making of it, the
Yeah.
interviews with the
Yeah,
survivors
the
and things
diary
like
that Ron lived.
I know. I mean, I don't know whether. Oh yeah, that's quite good as well. I don't know whether a lot of people would have done this, but I love Band of Brothers, and I think it's fantastic. And I think it was you that probably got me onto it, really. Watched the whole of
I mean,
Band of
if
Brothers.
we're talking series as ratings, that would be 10 out of 10.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Without a doubt.
That's probably universally agreed. I'm sure if you go on IMDb, it might actually be, even if you take films and series and everything else into account, Band of Brothers is the top
Yeah.
of everything.
It should be because it is that good. But what I was going to say was, I mean, I watched them all quite a few times. I really enjoyed them. It was really, really good. As part of the special edition, you have the interviews with the guys. Like at the start of each episode, they have a specific amount, like couple of minutes of interview. But if you watch the whole lot, you've got the full interviews with the full people
Yeah.
of the full series from the start to the finish of those guys telling the people who made the TV show what happened. And you can watch the whole lot. And I have sat and watched the whole lot. And it's like, I mean, my granddad was in the Navy and he did different things, and he was in this battle and that battle, and he was in Royal Navy and Merchant Navy and things like that. And it was like sitting talking to him for like 15 hours.
Yeah, I mean, you watch that and then you watch the series, and you feel like you know these people.
You really do, yeah. But, yeah. It's not a film though.
Not a film. we did get a bit sidetracked. So series is the new film, and that's potentially what's going to happen with Halo.
Yeah.
I mean, it has happened sort of with Forward Unto Dawn. It is yes, no, it's both. It got cut up.
It could be epic.
It's something to look out for and look forward to. I think that's what we can agree on.
Look forward to with
Held breath.
yeah,
To hope
Bit-
that it's
bit
not
of breath.
shit.
Well, if he does it properly and does it in the same way Forward Unto Dawn was done, I'll have no problem watching it time and time again.
Do you know, I mean, I know this is sort of going off slightly off topic,
Again?
but again. But this is what it's for, it's talking bollocks though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true.
I have issues with two films, and you have issues with one of the same ones, maybe the two of them as well. Alien 3,
I just have issues.
I know you have issues. Alien 3 and Blade Runner. Okay?
Yeah.
They were both produced.
I never know why he let me live.
Just done. And I know people who like that version of it. I'll get on to explaining that in a second. but-
Perhaps it was because I needed to explain everything through voice.
Don't, please. It's horrendous. But anyway, so
This is the end of the film coming up now.
they made two films, and it was the same producer. Was it the same producer? Same director?
Yeah, Ridley Scott.
Yeah. Was it direct? He was
You-
director, wasn't he?
Not of Alien 3.
Who did Alien 3 then?
David Fincher.
So was it producer then? Because there was basically two films that were released in the cinema, part done, really. They weren't finished the way that the people wanted them finished. So they released them, they did quite well, both of them did quite well. And then they sort of went off and they said, well, actually that wasn't how I wanted the film done. And they went back to the companies that produced them and said, right, I want to do the film properly. So they made a second version, which still wasn't what they wanted, because they ran into budget problems again of the second time round, which I don't know how you managed to do that when it's already filmed, but never mind. So then they produced a third version, which in terms of Alien was better, but it was badly cut and things. The sound wasn't very good.
And the
Alien-
graphics were terrible.
The graphics were terrible.
Yeah, well, if you read about Alien 3, it was during like a transition period of
Yeah, analog and digital.
yeah, and they were having budget problems and they had time constraints and everything, and like people were coming away from stop motion, like what you see in things like Terminator, like the way like it moves.
The originals.
Yeah, like things like that, like especially like what you see when the alien's like it's not a person in a suit because it's like a dog in
We're moving away from animatronics.
in the theatrical version there was a dog, but it's not really. It came off a box.
Yeah.
Which is the original film that came out. It was incomplete. It didn't make much sense. But anyway, so you've got this animalistic alien which you can't do by a person in a suit, and stop motion doesn't work. And they used like a similar principle of superimposing this thing, but it was a puppet that they moved.
Yeah.
It wasn't CGI.
Do you know what it is? I quite like that.
It wasn't CGI. It was a puppet that they moved. I mean, they even tried putting like a dog in a suit, and it looks ridiculous, like a little Jack Russell trotting along. And so you've got this thing where it does move like how they wanted it to, but it really stands out, and they couldn't blend it into the background, and it looks off, and.
It looks so out of place.
Yeah, and that's where the problem came on. It was like on the cusp of like using CGI and puppets, and they couldn't really make it work. But yeah, aside from that, I mean, I really do love.
And then like on the third sort of go for Blade Runner, which was what you were sort of getting on at, they made an epic film which was immensely complicated. But if you really like got into the film, you sort of worked it out. And for some unknown reason, on the third version of Blade Runner, they made the film and they sort of tarted it up a little bit, and then they put a huge shitty voiceover, which Harrison Ford did. And if you've got special edition non-Blu-ray, you can hear Harrison Ford going, "Why am I reading this?" You can actually, it's got it recorded going, "This makes no sense.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?" And you can hear someone in the background just going, "Just read it." And so he reads this thing, and it is the, "I don't know why he let me live that day." Well, we know why he let you live that day, because
If you have a brain, you watch the film, pay attention.
and it's just they added stuff to it, and it just, I don't know, it just didn't work, and they fucked it up, and then
They added the little bit at the end to like give it like a little happy end.
oh yeah, and they changed the end. They got away. No, they didn't. The whole point of the film was that was he one of the cyborgs? Was he not? Did he do this?
Yeah,
Did he not?
how was he going to live
Yeah,
with her?
and-
Was she going to expire?
Yeah.
Was he even a human?
Yeah, and then there was the thing with the unicorn, and then there was the thing with the little whatever they
Origami
were,
things.
the origami things that they made, and it was all fantastic, and it just left so many things open, and it worked really well.
There were
and then
hints and glimpses of things.
and then they made this other version, and it sort of wrapped everything up in a really shitty way, and I was like, really? And I actually know people who like the version with the voiceover, and I'm going, like, are you just lazy? Do you know what I mean? Do you need someone to say, by the way, this is the end of the film? Yeah, we know. This is like, and there's a scene where if people know the film, they'll probably know the scene. There's a scene on the roof, which is in the rain, and it's got Rutger Hauer, who, by the way, before he was even cast for the film, he cut his hair, bleached it, and produced the character and said, "I want this character," and they just went, "Yeah, okay." Because they didn't even he went in for his audition and he'd already done that, so they were like, "Right, okay." And the Tears and Rain scene, which is possibly one of my favourite scenes from all films, was totally ad-libbed.
Yeah,
It was not written.
I was going to add that in if you didn't mention
Totally ad-libbed, and there's a bit on the top there, and it basically, this guy, this replicant knows he's going to die, he has an indulge shut down, and he's upset about it, which is what all the film's about, and he's stood on this roof, and the Blade Runner, who's Harrison Ford, is there to kill him and to get rid of him, and Harrison Ford is just about to fall off this building, and he's going to die, and you know, whatever. And Rutger Hauer like lifts him up onto the roof, saves his life, and he's got a dove in his hands. And all he wants in life, all he wants is to have life, and he wants to keep the life, and he wants to have something, and he's made a difference. And then they put this voiceover going, I don't know why he let me live that day. Well,
just as he's given this speech,
it's so emotional.
As he's learned the value of life
Yeah.
and what people experience, and just as he closes his eyes and bows his head, and the dove flies away, and it's all very emotional. Then you've got this jarring voiceover. "I didn't know why he saved my life that day."
Very short life, it's sorry. That's shut up. But anyway, my point being that they have a few goes at these different films for big budget films, and when it gets to Blu-ray, they seem to get it right.
Yeah, they have a chance to go back, changes,
New audio,
clean
new
everything up.
video, Alien.
Yeah.
Alien 3 did it.
There was a lot of scenes in Alien 3 where extra scenes had been cut out, whatever, blah blah blah, and they come to do the proper special edition, like I say, where the alien comes out with an ox, and the story makes sense because you see what happens to everyone, blah blah blah. But there are some scenes where they tried to put in the film, they did put in the film, but the technology wasn't good enough to, you know, just what they had, the film that they had, the audio wasn't good, and they couldn't improve it. And so you have scenes, if like I've got the DVD where you listen to some scenes, someone will say something and you just hear this hiss comes in, like there's a snare drum rattling when someone's talking, and then it'll fade out when they stop talking. And then in the Blu-ray,
it's all gone.
yeah, the actors, all the actors came back 20 years later and re-recorded, nearly 20 years later, and re-recorded all those lines, and the whole audio's been cleaned up.
Yeah, the whole film's fantastic.
The whole,
it's
like,
really good.
Even there's some background noises that's been changed and altered, and
The
it just
music's slightly different.
greatly
as well,
improves it
yeah.
because it all fits now.
And Blade Runner did a very similar thing. I mean, they didn't re-record, but they re-shot all of the stuff straight onto Blu-ray. And
What are we talking about?
well, the point that I'm getting to is,
I've just gotten pulled into a rant about films. I'm not sure what the original point was.
In fact, Blade Runner, the film,
uh-huh.
there's a game,
Is there?
and the game was out before the film. It's not called Blade Runner, and it is a Japanese film, and it was for the
Game.
Mega Drive.
Yeah, but
It was one of the first disc games.
Yeah, but
and he
it's
was
based
the
on the
same-
book. Do
Blade
androids
was
dream?
made based on a book. Philip K. Dick, he wrote it.
Do androids dream of electric sheep?
But the game, I know, but I'm saying
The
the
game.
The
The
game.
game.
There's a game.
The game is exactly
This
how
game,
the
Joe.
android is. He's like he's hunting down the androids and all that. But yeah,
Yeah, I know what you. I actually know the game that you're on about. Yeah.
I don't. You're not talking about flashback on the SNES, are you? No.
no.
My point of that whole rant was, yes, okay, it takes people a few goes to get things sorted sometimes, but the quality of Blu-ray is worth the money that you pay for it.
Also, what I'd like to say on big screen, coming from a game, Paper Scissors Rock, the movie.
We're finished.
You know what it is?
We're finished.
I think we could do that.
What Blu-ray? 26 quid.
Yeah, 26 quid for Paper Scissors Rock, the championship finals and something like that.
We need to finish now.
The Battle of the Titans.
Hey, it's there.
I reckon, you know,
Money.
we get Michael Bay, we get some good explosions out of it.
Yeah.
Scissors!
We really went off on one night, like, didn't we? Right, finish.
Why are you talking about Blade Runner and...
I don't know, I can't remember.
See, that's why.
Because it's bollocks.
But to sum it up, yeah. So that's the games made into movies. Some of them are good, some of them bad, some of them a bit meh. But yeah, and there's some coming out which we're like hoping it's going to be good, but probably just won't be because they always get it wrong. And that's about it. So that is it for another week. I hope you've all had a decent weekend since this is aired on Monday. Please leave a like on the video if you like it, and if you've got a YouTube account or / Google Plus account, please leave a like on the video as well, or subscribe. Yeah, more subscribes, more videos we can do. Probably produce our own stupid independent movie and have it cast out. That'd be rather funny.
That would be awesome.
You know, maybe
Metal
do
Gear, yeah.
or maybe do like a Blair Witch
Oh,
horror.
we could do an Assassin's Creed.
Right, we need to
Or
finish.
Paper Scissors Rock.
Is there an Assassin's Creed film coming out?
Yes.
Yes. And yeah, so leave a like, subscribe, plenty of feedback, love it. And that is it. This is Anthony signing out, Richard and John. Ta-ra, everybody.